So today we are continuing with the project management case studies. I believe it's been some time, the last 3 weeks. Professor Adam has led us through the OPBRC, that is the output and performance-based road construction. He shared with us the theoretical basis, so I'll just recap it and then present our case study of what we've been doing on the case studies that we've been doing in the Northern region, currently financed by the World Bank. I also want to say that we had to do some slight tweak to the topic. The original topic was project management case study of output and performance-based road contracts for Ghana, but I needed to tweak it to suit what we are doing. So I'll be presenting the case studies of the OPBRC for the reconstruction of Temale, Yendi, Zabzugu, Tatale, which is about 168-kilometer road that we are currently using the OPBRC to implement. This will be my course outline. I'll quickly look at the overview of the OPBRC, then our project context in the reconstruction of the Temale, Yendi, Zabzugu, Tatale. Take a brief description of what we are doing, the timelines, the socioeconomic impact, and the lessons learned so far. Quickly, as we have learned for the past 2 weeks, the whole concept of OPBRC is not to really tell the contractor what to do, but tell him what he should do for you. That's the whole concept. So it's a proactive approach to construction. The idea is that you put a lot of risk on the contractor. The employer wants to offload his risk, which means he has to come out with a lot of money. And then the lowest price is often recommended. Instead of going through compassion test, this one, you set up the minimum condition, which we will look at the network. In the Temale, we call it the network performance. And then you define the output and then also the maintenance, the asset maintenance. Big difference with the OPBRC is its ability to try to address the maintenance backlog. Because invariably, in the traditional construction that we do 2 years, 3 years. When the contractor finishes, he hand over to the employer who has a lot of backlog of maintenance. Then, as we can experience in Ghana now, the maintenance backlog. But in OPBRC, the contractor is responsible for the maintenance after the construction. So those are some of the things. I mean, for us, OPBRC is less administrative burden. We believe that eventually to reduce the maintenance costs if the contractor is supposed to maintain a certain level. Also, we will look at the payment, basically a lot of lump sum in there. So it's once the contractor is responsible for design that we will look at, it results in reduction in claims and amendments and that kind of stuff. For the road user, we are now defining the project in terms of performance, network performance, in terms of the level of service that must be given by the contractor. So it's all good for the road users. We are able to provide better and safer routes with consistent conditions because he will be required to maintain the level of service on a consistent basis and also reduces road user cost. The consultants and the contracting entities are guaranteed a workload for a longer period. Like the case study we are looking at least 7 years, 8 years. The contracting entity has a contract, so he can plan very well. Because we are not telling him what to do, but we are asking him to do what we want, it comes with an innovative technology on the side of the contractor, and the risk is managed largely. Now we zoom into the GHA case study. That is on the Tamale Yendi Zabzugu Tatali. I have to say that in Ghana, OPBRC is not something new. The Department of Urban Rules for some time now has been using OPBRC to maintain their traffic lights, where they give the traffic light installation and maintenance to contractors with key performance indicators about the number of time that the traffic light should not go off, that the bulbs should not go off, and they maintain it and come for lump sum. So it's beyond going. I believe the difficulty over the years has to do with the guarantee of the payment. So this case study that the World Bank is doing with the ministry, where highways is undertaking the Tamale Yendi Zabzugu, and feeder routes is doing some selected feeder routes in the Upper West and the Atebubu areas. It's the first time that the whole concept is now being written and being done with the funding. But for us in highways, we will concentrate on the Tamale Yendi Zabzugu Tatali, as I said. This is the project location. So from Tamale, we go to Yendi, about 106 kilometers, which is basically a rehabilitation because the existing road was there. And then from Yendi, we go to the Zabzugu and drive to Tatali. That route is the R201. The R201, which we believe that we must reclassify it into a national route because of its characteristics connecting us to the other regions. The project, as I said, starts from Tamale and it traverses Sanglu district and the Tatale district, Zabzugu district, all the way to the border town at Tatale, where we enter Togo, the Togo and the Niger border. The main thing is goal is to improve on trade facilitation along the corridor, both to the eastern and the eastern corridor. So the Tatale has become a very significant border post that we want to, and then also to improve on trade. Invariably, it's easier for the trucks carrying onion and going to northern Togo and Niger to come through that route to Ghana. When they come to Ghana, when they get to Yendi, they can go down south through the eastern corridor, which we are looking, and then they can go north by coming to Tamale or going to the other side. So it's the development of the area, improve trade and open the market. That is the main goals of the project. For now, these are the key players on the project. We have 3 key players: the road agency, the contracting entity, and the monitoring consultant. For this project, we have broken it into 2 lots because of the length, basically the length, 168 kilometers. So it's into 2 lots for 2 entities. So we have CJIC with China Jiangxi, and then China Water with SICO as the main contracting entity. And then we have a monitoring consultant. The key difference is the role of the contracting entity. We've moved away from the word contractor to contracting entity in this performance-based contract because the contracting entity comes as a designer. He is responsible for the design of the road, He comes as the constructor of the road. He is the supervisor of the road, and also he has a quality control, an independent consultant as part of his setup. So it's not the normal contractor where we give you design, we give you instructions, and you go and do. No, now all these entities come together to form the contracting entity: designer, constructor, supervisor, and road asset management team. They come together to form what we call the contracting entity. We have a monitoring consultant, Leah Construmat, on the Temali. Their role is not to be a consultant who is supervising the works. In this case, their role is to do the assessment and promoter of the OPBRC, and then to have ownership of the concept design that was used for tender, and also do the monitoring and the asset management for the agency. They are also responsible for training of the staff for us. So those are the three main players and what they are expected to do under this project. Some few project indicators on what we are doing so far up north here. As I said, the OPBRC we are doing is for the GHA component is 168 kilometers. The Department of Feeder Roads is doing much more in terms of length in the Upper West and Upper Region. World Bank is financing so that we secure the funding. It's a 7-year contract. We started in 2021, and we are expected to finish it with 2028. Let me say that the 7 years, 2 years of the 7 years is for the rehabilitation and the construction. Then 5 years out of the 7 years is for the maintenance of the road by the contracting entity. So 7 years in all, 2 years for the rehabilitation contract construction phase, and then 5 years is for the maintenance phase of the project. Generally, these are the project indicators or the features. To do 166 kilometers, both rehabilitation and maintenance. Majority of the sections are single carriageway, except Temali, Yendi, that we are doing some decoupling at Yendi town and doing some bypass as Sabaru, and then Subri and Tatali. As I said, and then we are doing some road into Togo. Beyond the Tatali border post, which is our boundary with Togo, we are constructing about 300 of almost 400 meters of the road in the Togo portion, because it's not good road, and then also to construct the main border post at Tatali. There is no the performance indicators. I will define it. It's a network performance to meet the standards. It is not going to do CBR and all that, but the performance is by network. I will define what the network standards are. We are doing a lot of complementary projects. That is to lay an optical fiber from Temali to Yendi. The 166 kilometers, we are laying an optical fiber. I think we have currently finished 106 of the optical fiber. From Temali, we have laid 106 of the optical fiber. We are building schools and clinics and then boreholes for the community. And then undertaking a lot of environmental, social, and health safety compliance. The health, social, and health safety compliance, I will show it because It's very crucial because it forms part of the deductions. In the lump sum contract, if the contracting engineer doesn't meet the environmental and social and health safety issues that are defined in the contract, every month there are deductions against his lump sum for not meeting. The contracting engineer is not paid for earthworks, sub-base, base, and surfacing works. He is only paid a lump sum for a minimum of 5 kilometers. Under this project, the road agency doesn't worry too much about payment for earthworks, sub-base, as we traditionally know, up to road signs, up to road line marking, everything. He complete 5 kilometers and then he is paid a lump sum for it. So we just at this stage, as a road agency, verify and only certify payment for a continuous sessions of 5 kilometers. If he works anything less than 5 kilometers, we don't certify. The pavement is designed for a 15 years design period. Basically, these are the pavement design dimensions. There are 2 sessions to the pavement design. That is the Temale Yendi session and then Yendi Tatali, which was a gravel road. So for the gravel road, the design that has been submitted by the contracting entity after going through their design is to do Gene 80 for base, Gene 40, and then do the in-situ works, and then do crash room stone base, and then cement stabilizer base for that's the Temale Yendi session. So those are the 2 main designs that the contracting entity has submitted and been approved for this work. The environmental, social, health compliance that are indicated. So for the first time, we are checking for air quality, noise level, effluent and waste discharge in the communities, land surface water degradation, compensation and grievance redress, occupational and community health, and then rehabilitation and restoration activities. So these are clearly defined under the projects that we are undertaking. And the compliance is that any time every month the contractor defaults in meeting the standard set, he is deducted or there's a penalty that he's paid for missing this target. Air quality, if he doesn't meet the air quality defined in the specification, 10% is deducted from his minimum lump sum for the month. If he's not able to restore borrow pits into its order the way it's defined, he loses 12% lump sum. He's supposed to organize training workshops, provide first aid kits, and then the accident record. If it doesn't meet the standard set, he loses 15% of the month. So these are very key, very punitive on the part of the project for a contracting entity to miss any of these ones. Like I said, the key features of this project is the contracting entity is paid a lump sum amount for the rehabilitation period. Provision is made in the contract for emergency works, where the client can order for emergency work, which is not originally part of the work. When we go to emergency work, that one, it comes with the various activities which is defined. But for the main work, he's paid lump sum payment for 5 kilometers continuous session. Yes, so the minimum that he has to construct for payment is 5 kilometers. He's measured for network performance. Let me at this stage give the network performance for paved road sessions. So the contract provides for two network performance indicators for paved and unpaved. What we are doing at Upper West and the table area mainly is unpaved. So it has this network performance. For the paved sessions, he needs to maintain a level of service which is very good. The level of service must be very good. We are interested in maximum the depth and the deflection. So every month, when the contractor says that he has finished work, the monitoring consultant makes sure that the contracting engineer run a deflection test with the falling weight deflectometer so that it meets the standard set in the deflection. We are counting the maximum number of potholes that is allowed, especially for the maintenance period. We will take the number of potholes, vegetation control. There's a minimum clearance above the road surface that he must maintain. If the vegetation grows beyond 6 millimeters, that's 6 meters above the ground level, it means you will miss the target. Then we measure the roughness for road durability. So for this one, we are talking about road user comfort and then road durability. We are using roughness to measure for the network performance. If it doesn't meet, we deduct for failing to meet the target. These are the targets for the EIC, the environmental incident and accident, his EI staff and labor relations, occupational health, and the stakeholder engagement. Let me quickly skip the timelines as I've already given the timelines. It's a 7-year period for the rehabilitation and improve work for 2 years, and then the maintenance, which is throughout up to the year 7. The complementary intervention will run up to year. After year, that's 4.5, we should be done with the complementary interventions. And then as emergency works. These are our major stakeholders in the project. So we have the World Bank, the roads and highways, the monitoring consultant. We have a grievance who is supposed to address all grievances the community have, Savannah signatures. And then we have China Water and the EP and Lands Commission. Let me wrap up with our lessons so far as we have been here in Tamale projection. For this OPBRC, there is difference between site possession and notice to proceed. So the contractor was given site possession last year, but the notice to proceed is tied down to the design acceptance by the client, which is DHA and MRH. So we've given him possession of site for the no network, which means that he must meet the maintenance standards. There should not be any potholes and the road should be motorable. So that is what it means for the whole session. But notice to proceed is tied down to design submitted by the contracting entity and accepted by the client, and also wrap issues on those sessions being resolved before the client can issue notice to proceed. So there's a clear difference between the site possession and then the notice to proceed. Our major lesson is to the notice to proceed, because I have a lot of the sessions we've not been able to issue notice to proceed almost 1.5 years down the lane, because as usual, our RAP issues, the payment, the verification is taking us so much and giving us so much issues that without resolving the RAP issues, we are not able to issue the notice to proceed. The major lesson that we are also learning has to do with the design. The contracting entity under OPBRC is responsible for design. But the arrangements that we put in the contract is that the clients must approve that design. And invariably, it is being back and forth because whilst the design of the contracting entity is to maximize its profit, the client is checking the design to ensure that for the longevity of the road. So it comes and you return that you are not meeting the design standard, the ASIL laws are not meeting. And it's been back and forth in some sessions. And this is affecting the notice to proceed. It's a big one that we have to resolve, the RAP issues. The beginning of the project, a lot of stakeholder engagement was done by the World Bank, the client, and the consultants because it's new. But as we have started, it is taking us a lot of our energy because invariably communities come and say, why are you doing surface dressing? We want asphalt. Why is it that you are doing a stabilized sub-base and crash rock base at this session, and at this session you are doing natural gravel? So there's been a lot of agitations, and we have to come back. I think since I joined the team, this is our third time as the project is ongoing, where the communities have stopped the works and we have come back. Today and up to Friday, we are here engaging the people of Yendi, Zabzugu, and Tatali to explain their concepts. They come and they say that, we don't have any supervisor from GHA or from a consultant supervising the road. So it means nobody is supervising the road. And you have to go back and explain to them that, well, the supervisor and the contractor are the same. So the stakeholder engagement is continuing, but I believe going forward, we need to educate the people more and get it grounded. Another issue we are learning so far for this pilot going forward is the independent consultant embedded in the contracting entity. Invariably, the contracting entity is supposed to have an independent consultant for the supervision and the design. How independent they are in the contracting entity is becoming challenging in the current pilot that we are doing, because the contracting entity is still moved to the traditional way of they leading the works and sub-delegating, or the role of the conformity manager and the consultant who is embedded, because they are more or less he pays them. So sometimes you confront them and they are not bringing the issues the way they are. They come and tell you that, oh, director, I mean, that kind of stuff. And so the independent of the consultant, which so far, those are the lessons we are learning so far. This project put up a very elaborate grievance system. So we have the Savannah signatures that I show to take grievances and do radio announcements and take the complaint for the workers and everything. And so far, it's been a success. Chairman, I want to end here so that we can take any other comments that come. Thank you very much.